group in my front yard appeared to be seeing a miracle. Around 20 of my neighbors stood there, mouths agape, holding their phones, taking pictures of the unbelievable image in front of them. Spanning the newly excavated, water-filled ditch that had replaced my driveway access to the street was a fully operational, shiny drawbridge. Yes, a bona fide working drawbridge. The oak planks shone with sun, freshly sealed, as the machinery hummed quietly, lowering the bridge into place with a comforting mechanical whiz. Across from my spanking new moat faced Karen Peaton, the iron-fisted president of the Maple Grove HOA. Her expression was fixed in pure horror. I smiled and waved to her from my side of the water, because this bridge, this ridiculous but gorgeous monstrosity, weeks in the making, thanks to her. Let's get back to how this madness started. 6 weeks ago, it had all begun with something silly, a fence. I had put in a new, rotting wooden fence along my boundary line, leaving it exactly 6 feet high, square in the middle of HOA regulations. Karen, on one of her infamous patrols in her HOA golf cart, stopped installation to complain that the fence posts were too modern for the traditional aesthetic of the neighborhood. I politely reminded her that the HOA manual, yes, the very same one she said she'd written in her heart, clearly approved my design. Her eyes grew cold. "Those who believe themselves to be superior to rules," she snarled. That should have been a warning sign. Karen Peaton did not like being proven wrong. A former middle school vice principal who retired to become our HOA president, she was queen of our cul-de-sac. Each morning she drove by in her golf cart with a clipboard, a ruler, and a digital camera, measuring the height of grass, taking pictures of garbage cans, and issuing violation letters like clockwork. She once assessed the Johnsons a $75 fine because their trash cans were out for 30 minutes longer than is permitted. So when I got the official notification a week after the fence incident, I was not surprised. What surprised me was the accusation. My driveway purportedly encroached on common HOA land by 18 inches on the east edge. 18 inches of asphalt. That had been there for years. She cited an unusual easement from 1972. According to her interpretation, the HOA technically owned authority over that narrow piece of land. I owned my house for 5 years with the original survey documents in my hands. But she didn't care. I sat down with her in the so-called HOA office that was really just her guest bedroom packed with binders and rules. She pushed a copy of the bylaws across the table at me like a subpoena and read from Section 12, subsection C, paragraph 4. Any encroachment on HOA common land must be remedied within 30 days. She leaned back in her chair, grinning. Previous boards may have turned a blind eye to it. I don't. I politely explained to her that moving a section of my driveway would cost thousands, accomplish nothing, and do harm. She simply folded her arms and stated, "Submit a remediation plan or face enforcement." I believed she was bluffing. She wasn't. 3 weeks passed and I came home from work and almost crashed my car. My driveway had been raised. A ditch, 3 feet wide and 2 feet deep, had been dug through it, roughly 10 feet from my garage. Orange cones bordered the wreckage. It looked like it had been dug out by a backhoe. I stared in horror. Rainwater from the day before had already begun to accumulate in the bottom. My car, parked on the street, was rendered useless, since the driveway ended in a hole. I called Karen immediately. She answered with smug self-satisfaction. "Hello, Tom. I see you've discovered our corrective action. Since you didn't submit an acceptable remediation plan, the board took the step of reducing the encroaching part of your driveway. All properly documented, of course. You demolished my driveway without telling me," I bit out. She responded with saccharine calm. "Feel free to submit proposals for a new one, provided it doesn't encroach on HOA land. Have a good evening." Click. Even the police officer who made the call shook his head. Since Karen's documentation, technically it was a civil case. If I wanted justice, it was going to have to be through the courts. That's when inspiration struck. You see, in her blind pursuit of HOA enforcement prestige, Karen had made a mistake. By digging that trench, she had, unintentionally, installed a water feature on HOA land. And because the HOA bylaws stipulated that any member could suggest beautification plans for common areas with approval from the board, guess what I did? I complained about the trench's safety hazards in a formal complaint, and then presented a complete plan to beautify the water feature. It was dignified, classy, and 100% bookwork. While Karen seethed, the other members of the board, clearly tired of her drama, approved my proposal. I think they considered it a subtle way of disciplining her. And I began working. Instead of just fixing my driveway, I pledged. I consulted a landscape architect, a drawbridge contractor, and a lawyer from my attorney friend Ben, who liked to see me defy a flat-out tyrant. Karen was outraged, but she was bound by protocol. I was improving a water feature on common land with board approval. A week later, the ditch had been lined with lovely rock, a system for circulation installed, and lights run into the rim. When Karen drove up on her golf cart to yell at me, I smiled and said, "Thank you for starting the dig. I just thought I'd finish the job. Beautifully." Her face flamed. Then came the clincher, a fully operational drawbridge made of weather-treated oak and wrought iron railings. It went up smoothly and silently with remote control. No one could enter my driveway when up. When down, it could support a maximum of 10,000 pounds. The water feature beneath it had LED lighting, aquatic plants, and even a tiny waterfall. It seemed to be a luxury, resort-worthy feature. The community was fascinated. Kids called it the Castle House. People came over just to look at it in action. The local newspaper had an article titled, "Suburban Drawbridge Resolves HOA Conflict in Style." The following HOA meeting, Karen blew her top. "This is a medieval atrocity," she shouted. "It's a travesty of HOA power." Board member Richard, a contractor in retirement, laughed. "That bridge is better engineered than city infrastructure. It's already increased property values." Another board member was about to praise me for beautifying the neighborhood. The vote? 4 against Karen to 1 in her favor? Then the real zinger. The board considered her unauthorized digging of trenches in violation of several HOA rules and municipal codes. They voted unanimously to fine her $8,000 personally. Her face went from red to ghost white. She cried conspiracy, threatened to sue, and stormed out at the close of the session, captured by the same news crews that had recorded on the bridge. Karen was formally censured, and a special election was called. Her reign of terror was over.